Welcome everyone. I'm just sending a little note in the chat here, so anybody that wants to respond back and say hello, we'd love to know who's here joining us today. Thanks for hopping in this session where we're really excited to talk about the Infor Cloud Suite WFM 7 release and do a show and tell, talk about what's new in the release and have some really exciting things to talk about today. Just to kind of do a couple housekeeping things. I'm not sure, you're probably seeing 4 screen options on your desktop or whatever you're using. To enlarge one of those screens, click on it and it'll enlarge it, and then move off of it and it'll be grayed out if you leave your mouse hovering over it. And then we hope, unfortunately, you can see and hear all of us. We wish we could see and hear all of you, but unfortunately or fortunately, we have this opportunity to connect with you. And so really leverage the chat, feel free. Hi, Dennis, thanks for joining. With that, let's get started. So first and foremost, Andrew, you wanna get going?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll just introduce myself and then I'll ask the other panel here to introduce themselves. I'm Catherine McCaig. I am a sales executive with Axiom Group. I have been working with WFM technology for more than 15 years, coming up on 17 years. I'm very passionate about it, obviously. I got most of my experience with WorkBrain and was there with the acquisition of Infor, so have a long history with this product, and excited to tell you what's new in this release that's many releases beyond what I first grew up with. So Andrew, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. So hi, I'm Andrew Martell. I am a practice lead with Axiom Group, focused on employee mobility and employee engagement. I've been working with WFM now for a little over 6 or 7 years, and frankly, pretty excited to talk to you guys about some of the key aspects that we're seeing with Infor 7, and obviously kind of lead that into a little bit of a show and tell. That being said, I'm going to pass it off to our third presenter today, which is Paige.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Well, hi everyone. My name is Paige Berliner, and I am a solution consultant with Infor, focused on workforce management. I've been with Infor for almost 2 years now, and excited to be able to show you some of the new features today. So I'm going to let Andrew and Catherine kick it off, and then I will take you through the actual demo.
Exciting. Thank you. Thanks, both of you. So just to kind of tell everybody in the audience who may not know who Axiom is, we are an independent managed consulting firm, and everything we do focuses around our clients' labor initiatives. And if there's interest beyond what we talk about today, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Obviously, we have someone here from International Paper. They know us pretty well. Not sure who else is on that's a client, but thank you for joining us. So if you look at where Axiom started, we were really a group of ex-WorkBrain Infor folks. So we have been a Infor implementation partner for over 15 years since we started this business. And we have had, tremendous opportunities to work with the platform on a global basis. We have offices here in North America. Actually, our headquarters is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We have offices in the UK that service EMEA and the European countries. And then we have an office in APAC that services Australia and some of the other countries there. By far our most mature practice, and I would purport that from a WFM perspective, because of our history, most of us, over half of our company came from Infor. We have a really great knowledge of the platform, and super excited to tell you about what's new in 7 today. So with that, I just kind of want to set the stage a little bit. From my own personal experience, and the reason why I joined WorkBrain Infor back in the day is that they really changed the way that WFM systems are built, developed, and deployed. Everybody has adopted, a web-based, cloud-based, working towards multi-tenant platform to be able to offer a better user experience, not only to the people that have to admin and maintain, but most importantly, the greatest user of the WFM system, I would purport, is everybody, right? Every employee is involved with the WFM system. And so we really want to get this right. And it's really super exciting to see some of the really innovative things that they've done. And if you are a Lawson or a GHR HCM client of Infor, what's great about this is they've done a tremendous job making these two products very, very seamless because they are very interdependent on each other. And so as we talk about what we feel our audience cares about today, we feel a lot of you are either healthcare providers or public sector clients. So probably using or familiar with, or maybe we'll introduce it to you today, the multi-view scheduler and the central staffing. And really these products have been invested heavily in the last 5 years and bring tremendous advancements to the overall WFM solution. So let's start with multi-view scheduler. And Andrew, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What do you think? I love doing that to him. What do you think? Like when you think about MVS and you think about people that might be using it today, what do you think the biggest aspect of the multi-view scheduler that simplifies, first and foremost, the management of the schedules?
Right. Yeah, no, I think in general, and thanks for putting me on the spot, but in terms of MVS, I think there's quite a bit. But if we were to condense it down to kind of what makes it so much easier is that the fact that it does simplify and really make it intuitive and interactive when it comes to using the scheduling platform through MVS. I'm personally working on a project right now with the state of New Hampshire, and they're currently going on to Infor 7 and using MVS. And what we're seeing with them is it's really an opportunity for them to easily, focus in on what they need to see. They can make changes on the fly if necessary. But overall, it's really kind of that interaction, that intuitiveness that we're seeing with the platform that arguably makes a new manager or a skilled manager being able to handle it. We're seeing as well with some of our more clinical clients, if you will, it's also able to produce more arguably smarter schedules by ensuring that the right people are being scheduled at the right time and kind of supporting that decision making as we go along.
Great. So we'll hopefully be able to show you some of this stuff in action as we move through it. Now, what I think is really interesting about, exciting about the central staffing is the drag and drop. So talk a little bit about how that aids in the, creation and editing of schedules.
I think you nailed it on the head, is the fact that even just simplifying it with the drag and drop makes the amount of time that you need in terms of building schedules or maintaining a schedule at any point in time in that process a lot easier. It simplifies the workflow and arguably just cuts down on the time that is necessary or that you need to spend on building out these schedules. Great.
We know that, clocks are still heavily used from, people tracking time, punching in and out, taking meal breaks and things like that. What's the difference in their approach to biometrics with version 7 versus the previous releases?
Arguably, what we're seeing with clocks and the ability to use identification rather than authentication is that using biometrics, so like a fingerprint and stuff like that, it kind of covers all the bases. So it cuts down on time, it reduces workflow a lot of times for employees. And we're seeing that in heavy workflow areas or where there's a lot of people coming on for a shift at the same time. The biometric really cuts down on kind of getting everyone punched in rather than having a shared backroom computer or a much slower process. the biometric kind of allows them to get access, or at least punch in whatever's necessary all at once, and not having to do potentially a double authentication or slowing down that process as they start or end their shift. So, and Catherine, I realize that I've probably been talking a lot and you've been asking me some questions, but I do have a few for you, because arguably, as you mentioned at the start, is that you've been, you've been involved with what is now Infor and kind of all of these other aspects. And arguably one of the biggest components that is completely new or has been really revolutionizes as we're going into 7 and 7.1 is BURST. And just by looking at it, other than it being a cool acronym, I guess, well, what is BURST, and what is it that you can tell us about how it helps out the analytical part of Infor's product?
Yeah, so this is really exciting to finally see this being released. It's something that's been talked about for probably a couple of years now, but making sure it was done right. It is Infor's own IP embedded, that's going to be embedded in the WFM system and will be the new reporting tool going forward. It comes with, very rich industry dashboards, the ability to do drill downs, and it will replace ultimately the Cognos tool, which the best part about it, if you are a Cognos user, is it feels like every report is a custom report. You won't have to write custom reports anymore. You won't have to have send a request to IT and wait for IT to make a report. If you need some specific, data set to be able to make decisions, it's got a dashboard that'll tell you where you need to spend your time in the system, and it's shared amongst the solutions. So it's one repository and really ties all of the products together. So for me personally, this is a super huge win, and in the ongoing usability of the system and the maintenance of the system, it makes it much easier for the users to get what they need, and especially with the drill down capabilities.
Right. And I think what you said is kind of focusing on what we need, or what, the end user needs. And I think at this point in time, nothing is more obvious or prevalent than COVID-19 and what's going on with that. So I guess, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on between Infor, or even Infor and Axiom, when it comes to addressing COVID-19 and how that's affecting some of the users?
Yeah, so this was really very responsive on Infor and Axiom's part, because normally these things, a product life cycle, what's being worked on and released in the near term was baked probably a year ago, but we didn't even know we were going to be needing to address these things. And it's really around keeping everyone safe, and how to do that. So one of the things is first and foremost contact tracing. I mean, this is a new word. This is a new subject that we've all had heard about and are probably pretty familiar with. But really, that is, contact tracing is designed to, if someone reports that they are infected or potentially ill, is being able to quickly determine within your organization who they may have worked with and who they may have come in contact with through a contact tracing report, looking at people's punches and their schedules, and then making a decision to how are you going to deal with that downstream. So the contact tracing report makes that very easy to figure out who you might have to talk with. And that's right now, Axiom's got it available for release 6. Infor's releasing it in, I believe, 7.1, and in addition with a lot of other things that will help with the safety or some of the other upsets. So when we look at people wanting to be able to ask a simple question before someone comes on shift, you can either do it at the physical clock by introducing a simple question, and these all follow, for the healthcare folks, HIPAA, so it's not being asked invasive things. It's a simple thing. And you can either, if you're moving away from physical clocks, because again, people are trying to eliminate, with social distancing and everything and protective, they're also including that functionality in the mobile. So if you are looking to convert to mobile for punches, you can ask then. And then maybe not necessarily for this audience, but something that retail and hospitality specifically are struggling with right now is that they have in the past heavily relied on POS data to help drive the forecast of labor. And right now, there really isn't great POS data historical data. So we don't have any, recent trends that we can really base this on. So it's allowing a more manual upload of POS data so that the WFM system can do its job and forecast labor.
Right. No, that's all. That's super interesting. And even to follow that, I know we even have a few more, and we will talk about these. And obviously, keeping an eye on the time, we want to get to the show part, if you will, of our show and tell. So I guess let's take us through a few of these. I guess, Catherine, if you will. Yeah.
Do you want to why don't we do this? Because I think people do want to see it. Why don't you just give us a summary of the mobility and the employee shift billboard, which is, I think, very exciting. Everybody would agree. And then I'll briefly touch on machine learning. If somebody wants to know about the labor standards in Opus, that's a long conversation, and we don't really have a show to that. We could migrate then to Paige. Does that sound good?
No, that sounds good to me. And I think summing up the mobility aspect, I think, Catherine, you hit the nail on the head pretty well on the last point when talking about COVID-19 is we're actually seeing a lot of organizations move towards mobility and the employee shift billboard to allow a lot more flexibility and access and frankly, power to the end user, be that the employee or the manager, to make sure that whatever is necessary can be accessed directly on someone's phone. So that can be stuff like their own schedule, their time card, they can request time off. And then we're seeing with the employee shift billboard, what that does is really give a lot more freedom to individuals when it comes to their own shifts and being able to either do shift swapping or open shifts if someone else wants to pick that up. So that is, there's capability around that. I'm seeing a few questions in there and one about geofencing, and I do want to just quickly talk on that. And I know Catherine answered it, but yeah, geofencing is something that is capable within Infor mobility, and that's a great question because a lot of times the question is I don't want people punching in when they're on their way to work. How do I make sure that they punch in when they get to work? So with geofencing, you're able to do that. And again, that kind of gives that full power, but control in a sense to the organization, as well as safety that what is being done is still within the means of what Infor is able to do or is able to provide on a computer, but now on your mobile device. So Catherine, if you don't mind, take us through a little bit about machine learning and what that means for those users, especially going into 7.1.
So from just a WFM system in general, in my opinion, this is the largest advancement that I think that these tools have seen since we started using them and went from Excel-based to a more formal system. And really, it's the system leveraging machine learning to create better, smarter schedules and improve the forecasting accuracy. And what the benefit of having this cloud-based and having clients that are live is that Infor is actually able to validate these results with current client data. And when you talk about improving the forecast accuracy by 20%, anybody here that manages a payroll or manages trying to figure out when I need people, right? It's still about right people at the right time at the right place. I know the 3 R's are nothing new, but at the end of the day, it's still relevant. And so what we've seen in the results of those testing is 20% increase in accuracy. And it's huge. And the best part about machine learning is that it'll just get better and better and better. Unfortunately, that's not something we can actually show you, but certainly we can get Infor to talk in more detail if somebody was interested on some of the testing that they've done and the results that they've seen. So I'm just going to pause for a few seconds. And does anybody have any questions, or are we really excited for Paige to show you the new app?
While we wait, I'm actually going to stop my sharings just so no one gets confused by the screens, and we'll have
Oh, right.
Paige actually get her window shared. So you may notice that we've kind of flipped back to our three-person view. Paige, in just a second here, is going to be sharing her screen, and feel free to follow along as Paige kind of takes us through that. So I'm not seeing any questions. So Catherine and I are actually going to jump off camera just so no one accidentally follows us when there's something better to see. But if you want to, double click on Paige's screen share and she'll be happy to take you through that. So Paige, I will pass it off to you.
Great, thank you. Everyone able to see the PowerPoint okay? Just want to make sure before we get right into it.
Looks good.
Looks good.
All right, great. Well, thank you, everyone. I know we did introductions at the beginning, but if anyone joined a few minutes late, just want to reintroduce myself. My name is Paige Berliner, and I'm a solution consultant focused on workforce management. And I've been with Infor for almost 2 years now. But now that you have some background information on some of the new features that we came out with in 7.1, I'm going to take you through the solution and how you would be able to utilize it on a daily basis, including really emphasizing those points that we just went through. All right, so for the remaining around 30 minutes that we have, I'm going to take you through an overview of workforce management, take you through some of those employee self-service capabilities, including mobile functionality. Following that, I'll go more into a manager experience, show you how they'll have access to those real-time analytics, role-based dashboards, as well as time and attendance and evidence-based scheduling. Feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. We'll make sure we address those, but we'll also take some time at the end to address any questions that anyone has remaining. So with Infor Workforce Management, it is an end-to-end solution, so it's going to help with every aspect of planning your workforce. Specifically with healthcare organizations that we work with, this starts with our clinical science tool. So this tool takes patients' direct and indirect needs into consideration when determining how many staff that you're going to need on a specific unit, making sure that each of those unique care needs that patients have are being considered, so you make sure you have the correct staff to be working with those. Now, after that, we have our scheduling. So making sure that your schedules are rule-based. They have built-in compliance. They're going to take employee skills and certifications into consideration when creating these schedules. It's also going to include those shift billboards that we just heard about a little bit ago, and I'll go into more detail with that as well. Now, lastly, we have time and attendance. So this is going to be that streamlined time approval system, really making it easy for managers to have visibility into employees' time worked, be able to track overtime, approve time off requests, and again, make sure that employees are following any attendance policies or meal and break compliance issues that you need to be addressing. Now, throughout the solution, you're going to see, again, those role-based dashboards, mobile capabilities, as well as embedded analytics. So definitely see that throughout the whole demo. So I'm going to be taking you through the day in the life of both an RN as well as a nurse manager and show you how both an employee and a manager would be able to utilize the system on a daily basis. The employee that we'll be starting with is Todd Wallace, and on a daily basis, he's responsible for providing exceptional patient care as an RN, as well as being a part of a supportive and engaging work environment. But from a workforce management solution, he really expects to have that mobile clocking, be able to utilize his phone to punch in and out whenever he gets to work. He also wants to have more control over his schedule, be able to trade, swap shifts, as well as pick up any additional unfilled shifts he wants. And lastly, in addition to that, be able to easily do time off requests. So be able to go in, submit those requests, and make sure his manager has visibility into that. Now moving over to our manager, Monica. So on a daily basis, Monica is responsible for staffing across multiple units within the hospital. She also continuously has to review employees' timesheets, make sure that all their punches are correct, and they're staying within any compliance rules that the organization needs to follow. And from a workforce management solution, she really wants to be able to address the understaffing issues that she's been seeing across her units, as well as easily be able to approve and make adjustments to her employees' timesheets and be able to track their credentials. She wants to be able to make sure she's not scheduling employees with any expired credentials, and that she can be proactive in making sure they're up to date on that. So with that, I'm going to go right into our employee experience with our employee Todd. And when we think about the employee experience, it's really important to be thinking about punching in and punching out, all those clocking options that employees need to have access to. So with Infor, employees will have access to multiple clocking options if you want. We have kiosks or PCs that employees can punch in and out to when they get to work. They can utilize a phone or a tablet, as I mentioned, which will include that geofencing that I know there was a question about earlier, as well as those biometric clocks and elapsed time. So if you do have employees that maybe just need to enter time once a week, they don't need to punch in and out every day, you can utilize this elapsed time where they can come in, enter their time, submit it, and easily make sure that all their time worked is still being accounted for. So that, I'm going to go more into our mobile capabilities and switch and pull up my phone here. So we're looking at our employee Todd's phone and going to go through some of those capabilities that he has access to. So you can see immediately when he logs in, he can clock on, clock off for his shift. And again, there is geofencing built in. So managers or whoever you want to give security access to will be able to see exactly where employees are clocking in from. But you'll also be able to set up boundaries on that. So if you only want to allow employees to clock in from once they've stepped foot inside the hospital, whatever organization, you can set up those boundaries so it'll only allow them to go through with that once they've stepped foot in those parameters. Now, with being able to clock on and off for his shift, he can also go in and change any labor metrics. So if you have employees that work in multiple locations, different departments, they have multiple positions, they can go in and they can actually go in and select what job, change it throughout their shift if necessary. So for example, Todd here works as both a registered nurse as well as a charge nurse. He can go in, if he works as one in the morning, switches over to another in the afternoon, can make that adjustment. And if there are any changes, maybe in pay that come from switching jobs, that will automatically be updated in the system. Nothing else that a manager or employee would have to do for that. Now going back to Todd's homepage, you can see he can easily check his messages as well as his shift for the day. But if he wants to go in and look at his schedule for the week, he can simply select this calendar icon and open up his schedule for the week. Now on this screen, Todd's going to have access to a lot of information about his schedule. He can see all the days he's not scheduled, any days he's scheduled for, what that shift is, as well as any time off he's taken coming in directly to his schedule. So we can see we have this circle icon here on Wednesday the 5th. If we click on it, we can see that Todd called in sick for his shift yesterday, and all of that is going to come in directly from that time off information. Now, in addition, Todd can also view his coworkers' schedules here in the top corner. So if he wants to see who he's working with one day, or maybe he wants to plan to swap or trade shifts with someone, he easily has access to that information. So if he wants to give away his shift on this upcoming Saturday, he can go in, he can simply select it, and he has a few options. He can actually just give away the shift. He knows there's an exact employee who can go in, pick that up. He can go in and give it away. He has the option to trade it if maybe he doesn't want to lose out on the hours, so he can give his shift to a coworker and pick up one of theirs instead. And lastly, be able to actually post it to the billboard, which is one of those features that we just discussed a few minutes ago. So if Todd doesn't know an exact employee who can pick up this shift, he can actually send it out to his entire team, and employees with the correct skills, certifications, who aren't already working a shift that day will be able to see it. So he can choose exactly what times of the shift he wants to be giving away. So he just wants to give away the afternoon part of his shift. He wants to try and attend his son's soccer game in the afternoon. He can select that, change it, and submit it. Now, once he submits it, he'll get this notification that the shift was posted, and he'll have a little icon that we'll see on the screen next to that shift on Saturday the 8th, letting him know that that shift has been posted. And once another employee goes in, claims it, he'll automatically be notified and everyone's schedule will be updated. Now, since Todd is giving away this shift on Saturday, he doesn't necessarily want to lose out on all the hours. So he also has the ability to pick up shifts that have been posted to the billboard, either by a manager, saw an unfilled shift, or maybe by another employee who was trying to also give away their shift. So we're able to see that with the clipboard looking image next to Sunday the 9th with the number of shifts that are available. So if we click on that, we'll be able to see all the information about the shift. You can see the start time, the end time, the team, the job, and also if you have any bonus shifts, any incentives for getting employees to pick up those extra shifts, we'll be able to see that as well. So Todd can go in, see this is an RN shift for a med-surg team, and in addition, it's going to be a bonus shift. So he wants to claim that, he can go in, and he can automatically see that shift was claimed and it was added to his schedule. So we can now see he has that shift on Sunday the 9th, letting us know that it's now Todd's shift, and it will also be updated on his unit schedule so everyone knows exactly when his team is working. Now, Todd also has the ability to share his schedule out if he wants to make sure that a significant other, a family member, a friend knows when he's working. He can select this calendar, the world icon, and he's actually able to send out the URL for his calendar. So he can send it to a family member, a friend, or he can add it to a personal calendar. Maybe he checks his iCalendar when he's outside of work. He can add that. All of his shifts will be uploaded, including any changes. If he gives away a shift, picks up a shift, everything will be adjusted in real time. So now that we've gone through Todd's schedule, I want to show you how he's able to go in and request time off. So if we simply request the time off button, we can see all of the information for his schedule. We can see all the shifts he's scheduled to work with that calendar icon, any time off that's been approved with the green check, as well as any time off that's been canceled with these red circles. So since Todd had to go in and cancel some time off, he wants to make up for that next month and request a few more days off. So he can go into September, and he wants to take off the 5th. He wants to take a long weekend. So you can simply select the day, put in the type of time off he's taking. He's going on vacation. You can put in a reason, so put in as personal, as well as leave a comment for his manager. So if he wants to let them know he's going on a family vacation, you can add that, as well as leave an attachment if necessary. So once he applies that time off, he can submit it and automatically see that uploaded on his time off calendar. So we can see that with that blue circle there, letting us know that it's been submitted. Once his manager reviews it and either approves it, denies it, he'll be notified and be able to see whatever decision was made on this calendar. Now, in addition, Todd can view his balances from the screen. So with this umbrella icon in the corner, we select it, we can see all the balances that he has, so he can go in, make sure that everything is updated correctly, and he can also check that he has enough vacation PTO time before he even goes in and requests time off. Now, within the system, an unlimited number of balance types can be created while determining a lot of details about these balances, if they can go into the negatives, if it's a hard stop at 0. So those will really be up to you and how you want to configure those balances for your employees or for different groups of employees within your organization. So with these mobile capabilities, Todd really has a lot of control over his own schedule, as we saw, being able to claim shifts on the billboard, be able to trade them, as well as more control over his time worked. You can see he was able to clock on, off for his shifts, his meals. You can see he can go in, review his timesheet if necessary. So really gives employees a lot of control over those daily tasks. But before we move into some of the manager experiences, want to make sure that we address any questions that anyone has had so far. All right, great.
From the chat, so.
Okay, perfect. So as we just recapped those capabilities that Todd has, being able to efficiently clock in, improve his schedule capabilities, and clearly have visibility into time worked. So with that, I want to switch over into our manager experience, and I'm going to open up our dashboard that our manager would have access to. So we open up our manager Monica's dashboard. You can see those real-time analytics that she's able to visualize. So these are all going to be role-based. So depending on your role in the organization, you can have access to a dashboard with widgets and relevant information for your position. But really want to draw your attention to our notification bar here in the bottom corner. I'm going to try to make that a little bit bigger for you all on the screen, but this is what we like to call our 2-minute manager, because with this notification bar, really gives managers great visibility into a lot of information they need about their team. So we can see information about employees who have punched in, haven't punched in, simply be able to scroll over their name and have detailed information about how to contact them. We can have alerts about employees approaching overtime, employees who do have those skills and certifications that are expiring. So our manager, Monica, can be proactive about those and make sure she is alerted to anything she needs on a daily basis. That's really going to make her job easier.
Hey, Paige, we have a question for clarification. Are you showing us now, have you moved into what Infor calls Burst?
Yes, so this dashboard that you're seeing on this screen is Infor's BI tool called Burst, and so this is just an example of what a dashboard that a manager could have access to, or any user within your organization.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, so that last little tab I wanted to go through is action items. So when an employee does request time off or claims a shift on the billboard, managers will easily be able to see these and go in, approve, deny them, whatever they need to do based on the information they have here. So a lot of great information just on the home screen when Monica logs in for the day. But what I really want to go into more detail with for the last few minutes that we have here is our scheduling. So with Infor, we really utilize our evidence-based scheduling, and with this, it's going to include 3 methods that we use. We utilize master rotations, so those pattern predefined shifts that employees work. For example, if you always have employees that work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or maybe Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, making sure that those shifts always appear on their schedule. It's also going to allow for self-scheduling, so employees can go through, pick up shifts that work better for their day-to-day schedule, as well as auto assignments. So if you maybe don't want to utilize master rotations, or you still have unfilled shifts on your schedule you need employees to claim, easily being able to utilize this feature so that those shifts are filled by employees in a fair way, while still taking into consideration skills and certifications. So we really utilize all 3 of these to create this advanced schedule view that I'm going to switch over to right now. So when we open up this advanced schedule view, you'll be able to see an example of one specific unit that our manager is able to see, and we'll be able to see a lot of great information about a specific team. So you can see on here, I have our med-surg team pulled up for this upcoming 2 weeks. You can see we have the schedule sectioned off by position. So we have your CNs, your CNAs, your RNs. You can easily differentiate between the shifts on the screen. So we can see our day shifts here in orange, our night shifts in purple. And again, that time off information coming in directly to the schedule. So when employees are on vacation, take a sick day, that will easily come up on the schedule for managers to see. Now we're also able to see those unfilled shifts highlighted in yellow on the screen. So managers can come in, see exactly what shifts need to be filled by employees. We have a few ways you can get these shifts filled. You can simply manually put an employee into one of these shifts, or you can send it out to the billboard like we saw before. So a lot of different ways that managers can make sure they are getting those shifts filled and alleviating any issues with understaffing. Now, in addition, at the bottom of the screen, our manager is going to be able to see her total coverage for the schedule. So we'll be able to see on each day by position down to the shift where we're understaffing is highlighted in red here. We can see anywhere we're overstaffed with these shifts highlighted in gray. So maybe Monica can know to send someone home one of these days, or maybe book them off on Wednesday and pull them in on Thursday when we're going to, or Tuesday when we're going to be down an employee. So this screen really does give Monica great visibility into a specific unit schedule. She can make a lot of changes if she needs to book employees off or add users to the schedule. But the last item that I want to go through for Monica's scheduling capabilities is our central staffing screen that we touched on earlier as one of the new features that came in 7.1. So with central staffing, it's going to give managers or whatever users you want to give access to visibility to staffing across the organization instead of looking at it by unit. So we can look at all of our units for any given shift. We can look at our day shifts, our night shifts. So we're going to pull up all of our units for our upcoming night shift. Once we open this up, our manager, Monica, will be able to see down to the unit what the staffing looks like. So we can see by position what units have understaffing, what units have overstaffing, and units where the staffing is correct. So if we open this up, we can see exactly what employees have been scheduled to work this RN shift on the cardio unit for this shift later today. But we're also able to see the shifts that still need to be filled. So simply by opening this up, we can see that there's a shift that still needs to be filled for our RNs tonight. Now, there's a few ways that you can fill this shift. So you can go and see if you have overstaffing in any of your other units, maybe be able to pull someone from critical care over to cardio. Or we can utilize our float pool. So we can see all of our float pool staff that haven't been floated yet and who's available to work. So we can go in, see what RNs are scheduled to work later, and simply by dragging and dropping, we can place our RN Mary into this unassigned shift. So once we place her there, we can go in, we can put in that float code. We can choose exactly how long we're going to float her to a position. So maybe you only want to float her for a partial shift. You can really specify that time. So we'll submit that, and we'll be able to see that automatically get updated on the schedule. So we can see Mary now has taken that unfilled shift. That yellow shift is now been deleted. And we're able to see that blue square next to Mary's name has turned to yellow, letting us know that that float went through and that there's nothing else that Monica, our manager, needs to do. So with central staffing, it really does give managers complete visibility into what staffing is across the organization. So they don't have any units with overstaffing while others are dealing with understaffing, and can easily make any adjustments with those drag and drop capabilities. Through the scheduling and analytics capabilities, just want to recap for managers really being able to utilize workforce management. So as you're able to see, they were able to have access to those real-time analytics. They had visibility into staffing across multiple teams, as well as being able to really improve employee satisfaction with being able to make sure that their employees aren't working too many shifts, that they are being floated correctly, and that they can approve all that time off in real time. So I know I just went through a lot of information, but with Infor Workforce Management, you're really going to have access to that integrated and automated solution where employees, the scheduling is going to go right into time and attendance, being able to see what they're scheduled for on their timesheet. And again, that time off information going in directly to their schedule. Users will also have access to those mobile capabilities. So being able to utilize their phone for those daily tasks, as well as being able to see those real-time alerts and analytics. So overall, throughout the organization, we'll really be able to improve efficiencies, be able to save a lot of time actually spent in the system, and really enhance that employee and manager experience on a daily basis. So with that, want to make sure we address any questions and pass it back over to Catherine and Andrew.
Thank you, Paige. That was exciting to see. Great job getting all that in our brief time that we gave you to show and to do the show and tell. We're going to continue on with the show and tell and wrap up here with the contact tracing report that's available now in version 6 as we wait for version 7.1. And this is the report that Axiom has created to enable quickly, as we talked about, trying to identify other folks that, oh wait, we have a question. Does the approval flow follow the manager structure in HCM? Paige.
Yes, definitely. So all that information, if you have those approvers in HCM, it can be the same approver function in workforce management.
Great, thank you. Keep the questions coming. I can multitask. I do it all day, so please keep them coming. But this is really, this report here is something that's available. We're making it available at no charge. That includes getting it into your current environment and making any subtle tweaks that you would need to make it useful for you. But if you could go to the next screen, this is the report, this is where you go in and these are the filters for the report. So the first thing you want to do obviously is identify the employee that we want to trace and see what they've done. We can decide, based on how you use the system, how you want to identify that employee. And then do you want it to be in, based on actual shifts or versus hours work based on punch times and things like that. And we do recommend, if you're using punch times or the schedule, that you increase the before and after in case somebody, you can tell us and we will contact you and set up a time to talk with you, Diane. But we recommend that you increase the tolerance in the event that somebody clocked in late or clocked in early or clocked out late. So we put a little bit of a buffer around that start and time. Next slide, please, Andrew. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that this is the beauty of it now, is how simple it is to actually view and export the report. So once you've actually gone through and you've actually filled out all the information, as Catherine kind of took you through, you're now actually able to see the information and make those adjustments and make those calls. So if need be, where you need to contact someone who possibly have been in contact with someone, who's feeling ill or has traces of it, you're able to do that with this report itself. Just keeping an eye on the time, we only have a few more minutes left. So as Catherine says so greatly, if you have questions, keep them coming. Happy to answer them. But I do want to also make a quick reminder / note is that Axiom has had other sessions today. I don't want to say they saved the best for last, but well, I think they might have. But if you want to, there were a few other sessions that our great team presented. All of these have been recorded and will be made available, but we also have a booth that will be opening up at the top of the hour, a virtual booth for Axiom Group that you can go and talk to some of our other great folks. And they are more than happy to help you out. They can answer more questions or tell you how we are able to help you when it comes to things like Infor and making sure that you have what you need, or to the questions that we've been having is how do we get the contact tracing report? So being able to access all of that. Was there any questions, Catherine? I just minimized.
We have one more question that came in, and it's around the module that manages leave management. So in the past, we called it the absence management module. Is leave management still part of that module of WFM? Paige, I think you're on mute.
I'm on mute. But if you're referring to the time off request, being able to track balances, accrual policies, yes, definitely still included within workforce management.
But is it part of the, so she's really talking about FMLA. So like somebody needs to take, a longer extended leave, not just, time off request. That was always part of absence management. Is that still the case?
Yeah, so we can talk about FMLA a little bit further, but it's definitely something that can be a part of workforce management.
To know. Great. So with that, we'll keep it open for the next minute, but obviously here is our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any more questions. We're going to stick around for probably the next minute or so if you do have questions, but if not, if our time runs out, feel free to write down our emails. You can reach out to us. Happy to help you out. And I guess before we end, huge thanks to Paige for joining us today and giving this amazing presentation. Frankly, it wouldn't be a show and tell without the show. So Paige really was able to bring that part to it. So for those who stuck around, thank you very much for your time and your great questions. And hopefully you took something away, and hopefully you enjoyed the whatever remaining sessions you attend or any of the ones that you've had before today.